Hey there, sleepyheads. Welcome back to the channel. Before we drift into tonight's tale of Adventure Time's unseen seasons, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from tonight? And what time is it for you right now? Drop it in the comments below. It's always magical, seeing how far and wide this sleepy little community reaches. All right, lights low, blankets up. Let's begin. Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine a land that doesn't obey the clock. A world where 1,000 years can slip by like a single afternoon nap. And the memories of whole civilizations drift through the air like soft dust. That's the land of Ooo. Time here is not a straight line. It's a gentle tide that rises and falls. Moments stretch and fold, stories overlap, and ages are born again in different shapes. In Ooo, even the sun seems to move slower, tracing lazy arcs across skies that have seen both war and rebirth. The ground hums faintly with memory. Every blade of grass, every rock and ruin remembers something of the old world. The Mushroom War ended long ago, but its shadow still lingers in the cracks of glass mountains and in the half-buried ruins beneath fields of candy and crystal. Yet the strange thing about Ooo is how peaceful it feels in its aftermath. It doesn't ache for what was lost. It simply dreams, quietly, endlessly, like the earth itself is asleep and dreaming of what it once was. When we wander through Ooo, following Finn and Jake on their cheerful escapades, we're also moving through the layers of history. The Candy Kingdom, built from joy and sugar, stands upon the bones of a forgotten civilization. The Ice Kingdom, lonely and blue, rests where the cold has swallowed the ruins of science and war, and between them lie fields of magic and mystery where life has taken strange and beautiful forms to fill the spaces humans left behind. It's as if time itself melted in the explosion that ended the old world. And when it reformed, it came back softer, dreamlike. Days blur into centuries. Characters appear and vanish, as though they're simply drifting in and out of a long shared dream. Even Finn's adventures, bright and loud as they are, feel like stories whispered to the wind, echoes of something older. If you look closely, you'll notice how the show rarely tells us what year it is or how much time has passed. There are no calendars, no clocks that truly matter. Instead, the rhythm of Ooo is told through moods, colors, and the shifting tone of its people. Oh, when things feel playful and bright, we're in the springtime of its spirit. When quiet reflection takes over, perhaps it's autumn again. Ooo exists in cycles, moments of light, followed by shadow, followed by light again. It's less like a world and more like a heartbeat, something alive, pulsing with the rhythm of its own story. Think of the way Marceline moves through the centuries, unchanged, but always changing. She's seen empires rise and fall, friends come and go, yet she never seems bound to time's direction. She floats between ages like a memory, belonging everywhere and nowhere. And in that way, she's not so different from the land itself, endlessly adapting, but always carrying a trace of the past. Ooo is a place that remembers. It remembers the way people once feared magic, then became it. It remembers the machines that once ruled, now reduced to hollow shells scattered across the plains. And even as new life sprouts over the wreckage, the old world still murmurs beneath it. You can almost hear it in the wind, soft, distant, like the hum of a sleeping giant beneath the soil. Finn and Jake live in this world without ever needing to understand it completely. To them, the past isn't a burden. It's a story they sometimes stumble into, a mystery waiting behind a mossy door. They live in the moment, and maybe that's the secret of Ooo. That time's flow only matters if you try to catch it. If you let it carry you, it becomes peaceful, like floating down a lazy river at dusk. There's something poetic about how every ruin in Ooo has turned into something new. A broken city becomes a home for candy people. An ancient lab becomes a wizard's tower. Even decay is beautiful here. It's the soil from which the next dream grows. Adventure Time never mourns the apocalypse. It transforms it into wonder. It tells us that endings can be beginnings if you're willing to look softly enough. The Timeless Land of Ooo teaches us to stop measuring moments and start feeling them. Because here, everything that ever was still is. The child who saved the world, the scientist who lost his mind to magic, the princess who built her kingdom from laughter, all of them still wandered this place in one form or another. Every story overlaps like waves gently folding over one another on a quiet beach. When we see Finn and Jake resting beneath a pink sky, we might be watching the latest sunrise in a chain of a million. Each one looks the same, yet each holds a slightly different hue, a subtle reminder that time has passed, but it doesn't have to hurt. In Ooo, the past doesn't vanish. It lingers like perfume in the air, faint but unmistakable. Every moment hums with memory, yet somehow everything still feels new. And maybe that's what makes this land feel so strangely comforting. Even though we know it was born from destruction, it feels serene, like the earth itself has accepted its scars and learned to grow flowers over them. Every cracked mountain, every shimmering sea, every strange, smiling creature is a sign of survival. Time didn't stop in Ooo, it learned to dream instead. And as we wander deeper into that dream, we begin to sense how the flow of time in Ooo is different from the way we know it. In our world, time is sharp and demanding. It ticks, it counts, it reminds. But in Ooo, it meanders. It's as though time has forgotten its duties and decided to take a nap under the sun. Some days seem to last forever, stretching into soft, golden afternoons. Others vanish without warning, replaced by twilight skies and the gentle glow of fireflies. You can almost imagine the hours themselves drifting lazily through the candy-colored hills, stopping now and then to rest among the peppermint grass. Even the people of Ooo move at their own rhythm. Princess Bubblegum builds entire kingdoms in a single night, and then spends ages lost in quiet reflection. Marceline can sleep through decades, then wake up to find that the world has changed again, yet somehow feels the same. And then there's the Ice King Simon, frozen not just in ice, but in time itself. His heart, his memories, his sadness, all caught in a loop that never truly breaks. When you look at Ooo through this lens, it feels like a dream that never ends, constantly rewriting itself. The Mushroom War might have been its midnight, that deep, dark moment, when everything fell apart, but dawn eventually came. And from that dawn, everything began to grow again in strange, enchanting ways. If you listen closely during those quiet moments of the show, the pauses between laughter, or the scenes where Finn gazes out at the horizon, there's always a sense that time is whispering, not as a reminder or a countdown, but as a lullaby. It tells the people of Ooo to rest, to explore, to simply be. There's a scene many fans remember: Finn sitting alone after a long day, the sun setting behind him. The world feels still, but not empty. It's one of those moments where you realize that Ooo isn't frozen in time. It's suspended in feeling. Every sunset, every breeze through the grass carries with it the quiet heartbeat of a world healing itself. Adventure Time never rushes its seasons. It allows growth to happen naturally, a kingdom to rise, a friendship to blossom, a memory to fade. The slow pace of Ooo mirrors the feeling of drifting off to sleep when thoughts blend and stretch, when time loses its edges. And maybe that's why watching it feels so soothing. It doesn't demand that you keep up. It invites you to slow down, to let go of clocks and calendars, and instead listen to the rhythm of existence itself. When you watch the show this way, you begin to notice how often the world repeats its own stories. There's always someone new to carry the torch, another hero, another song, another age. The forms change, but the essence stays the same. It's a cycle, quiet and eternal. Even Finn, the great adventurer, is part of that loop. He grows older, learns, forgets, and starts again. His bravery feels ancient, like something that existed long before him and will continue long after. In him, we see the echoes of every hero who ever tried to make sense of a broken world, and the promise that there will always be another after him. Ooo doesn't fight against time, it dances with it. Each story we see feels like one frame in a great cosmic reel spinning slowly, endlessly. And maybe that's what makes the land so mesmerizing. It doesn't fear change because it's built from it. When day turns to night in Ooo, it's not an ending, it's just another breath. The forests quiet down, the rivers hum softer, and even the stars seem to blink slower. The whole world exhales. And as it does, we sense the truth that Adventure Time often whispers through its strangest, most beautiful moments that the end of one age is just the dream of the next. Nothing really disappears here. It just transforms, drifts, and returns, carrying the memory of what came before. Maybe that's why Ooo feels like such a comfort. Because deep down, it reminds us of the same thing life tries to tell us when we can't sleep. That time isn't something to be chased. It's something to float within. Like a current that always carries us where we're meant to go, even when we can't see the shore. As the moon rises over Ooo, the air seems to shimmer with quiet memory. If you could walk those empty plains at night, you might feel it, that subtle hum beneath your feet, as though the land itself is breathing. Each gust of wind carries whispers from another time, a scientist's laughter, a lullaby sung by someone long gone, the faint chime of magic weaving itself through the ruins. This is what makes Ooo so hauntingly alive. It isn't trapped in the past, it simply carries it along, folded gently into its present. Like rings inside a tree, the history of Ooo grows inward, layer upon layer, until even its simplest corners are full of stories. When Finn and Jake wander across the land, every adventure they stumble into feels like an echo of an older one. Sometimes it's a buried relic from the pre-war world, a broken computer still humming softly, or a lost record spinning its final song. Other times it's something stranger, a familiar pattern repeating itself in a new form. A lonely soul searching for connection, a kingdom rising and falling, a hero trying to understand who they are. There's a rhythm to these stories, one that feels almost cosmic. And though the show never says it outright, we can sense that Ooo is a world caught between rebirth and remembrance, constantly reimagining itself but never forgetting what it once was. If you look closely at the color of its skies, you can see time's passage there too. Morning light comes not in a rush, but in a gentle bloom, spreading soft pinks and blues over the horizon. And when night returns, it's never quite the same shade of indigo. It's as if the sky remembers every sunrise that came before and adds it to the next. Even the characters seem aware of the strange, dreamy rhythm. Princess Bubblegum, with her endless experiments and rebuilding, is always trying to restore order to a world that's moved beyond such rules. She's a scientist in a place where time refuses to stay still, and perhaps she knows deep down that all her careful work is part of something bigger, an infinite cycle that can't be measured by clocks or lab notes. Marceline, meanwhile, drifts through time like a song with no beginning or end. Her memories flow backward and forward, stitched together by feelings rather than dates. To her, centuries pass like seasons. She remembers the ache of loneliness, the sweetness of friendship, and the quiet acceptance that everything changes yet somehow stays the same. Her music carries those emotions, echoing through the land like a heartbeat from another age. And then there's the Ice King, or rather, the man he once was. Simon Petrikov stands as a living monument to Oo's timelessness. He's both a relic of the old world and a part of the new one, existing between realities neither fully past nor fully present. His tragedy isn't just about losing his mind, it's about being stuck in the frozen loop of memory. Every moment he lives is a reflection of what came before, repeating endlessly beneath layers of snow and sorrow. Yet even in that sadness, there's something deeply peaceful. Simon's story reminds us that time doesn't always move forward to heal. Sometimes it loops back to remind us that we are still connected to everything we once were. In Ooo, time is not a straight path. It's a circle of echoes, gently rippling outward. When we see Jake gazing up at the stars, talking about reincarnation and endless possibilities, it's easy to imagine that he understands this rhythm better than most. He lives joyfully in the now, but he feels the pull of eternity beneath it, as if every lifetime, every soul, every silly adventure is just one note in an endless song. Jake's calm acceptance gives Ooo its warmth. He doesn't question the strangeness of time. He laughs with it, naps through it, and trusts that everything will unfold as it should. The magic of Ooo lies in that quiet understanding that the universe doesn't rush. It takes its time, weaving old stories into new forms, letting heroes rise and fade, letting love change shape, but never disappear. And in that rhythm, we find something deeply human. Because isn't that how our own lives feel sometimes? We chase moments, thinking we're moving forward, when really we're circling through the same lessons, the same dreams, the same gentle reminders that we're part of something much older than ourselves. Adventure Time captures that truth without ever saying it aloud. Through laughter, through melancholy, through simple acts of kindness, it tells us that existence isn't a race. It's a song that never truly ends. Every ending folds into a new beginning. Every goodbye hums softly into a future hello. And Ooo, in its serene timelessness, becomes a mirror for our own quiet hopes. It tells us that maybe time isn't meant to be conquered or measured at all. Maybe it's meant to be felt as a soft pulse beneath the world, as a slow current carrying us gently forward. In the land of Ooo, even the silence feels alive. It's a silence filled with echoes, the laughter of old friends, the distant roar of forgotten magic, the whisper of a story still being written. And when you listen closely, you realize that it's not a silence of absence. It's the sound of a world still dreaming. When dawn comes again to Ooo, it doesn't feel like a restart. It feels like the continuation of a breath, the world exhaling after a long dream. The sunlight drips softly through the trees, sliding over glass towers and candy streets. Rivers glitter with a sleepy golden hue. Everything seems touched by memory, like the light itself remembers where it's been before. And somewhere, Finn and Jake are waking up. Jake yawns, stretches his long, lazy limbs, while Finn sits quietly for a moment, watching the world blink awake. There's no rush, there never is. They're not heroes in a hurry. They're wanderers in a land that moves at the speed of thought. That's the beauty of Oo's rhythm. It teaches you to slow down and notice the tiny, miraculous things that time often hides. The way morning dew sparkles on a candy flower, the hum of a distant song carried through the valleys, the laughter of someone you love echoing in a moment you didn't even know was important until it was already gone. The show captures that feeling so gently, the sense that time is not a force against us, but a friend quietly walking beside us. Sometimes ahead, sometimes behind, but always there, reminding us that every second we live becomes part of something vast and beautiful. If you watch the early episodes and then jump ahead to the later ones, you'll notice that Ooo itself seems to age not in decay, but in tone. The colors shift slightly. The air feels thicker, quieter. Characters who once danced and joked now pause longer between words. There's wisdom in the silence. There's history in every glance. The world matures but never grows old. Even the landscape reflects this the way grasslands turn into deserts, or forests grow where there was once nothing but rubble. It's not just geography, it's storytelling through the earth itself. Ooo evolves, slowly, naturally, as though guided by invisible seasons we can only sense through feeling. And in that, Adventure Time does something remarkable. It lets time become a character. Not a villain, not a hero, but a quiet presence that shapes everything without ever speaking. You can feel it in the pauses between adventures, in the lingering shots of sunsets, in the way music fades softly instead of ending abruptly. Time isn't chasing anyone here. It's rocking them to sleep. Maybe that's why Ooo feels eternal, because it doesn't resist change. It lets things end. It lets people grow. It even lets them fade away when they need to. But in every ending, something new begins. That gentle acceptance is what makes this world feel so peaceful, even when its stories are sad. Finn, who once charged into every battle with unshakable courage, eventually learns that some things can't be fought, they can only be understood. Jake learns that some adventures are quiet ones found not in the wild, but in the heart. Marceline learns that love doesn't fade, it just changes form. And Bubblegum, ever the builder, learns that even perfection must someday rest. All of them are travelers within Oo's great cycle, experiencing their own small seasons within the timeless rhythm of the land. They grow, they stumble, they forgive, and they begin again. And through them, we begin to understand that time isn't something that happens to us. It's something we move through, like mist or music. There's an episode where Finn looks out over the horizon and says nothing, just stands, breathing, eyes soft. That single moment says more than words ever could. It's the realization that Ooo doesn't need to make sense. It just is. It flows forward, backward, inward, all at once, like a dream that keeps reshaping itself around whoever dares to wander through it. And so we come to see that Oo's timelessness is not about escaping the past or ignoring the future. It's about harmony, the kind that exists when everything, even chaos, finds its place. The land breathes in memories and exhales new beginnings. The seasons move without names, the sun rises without promise, and still, everything feels exactly as it should be. In this quiet understanding, Ooo mirrors something deep within us, the wish that life could move slower, that we could hold on to a single, perfect moment, just a little longer. But maybe that's the secret Ooo already knows, that the moment is eternal if you stop long enough to feel it. Because when you look at a sunrise or hear a friend's laugh or close your eyes beneath the stars, time doesn't disappear. It dissolves into stillness. And that stillness, that's Ooo. The land of Ooo isn't timeless because time forgot it. It's timeless because it remembers everything, and it welcomes it all, the joy, the ruin, the rebirth, the silence. It teaches us that every story, no matter how small, becomes part of a greater dream. And that dream keeps unfolding endlessly, softly, like a lullaby for the world itself. So as we leave this first part of our journey, picture Ooo as it truly is, half awake, half dreaming, wrapped in golden light and gentle shadow. A place where yesterday and tomorrow hold hands, and the present hums quietly in between. A world unhurried, unbroken, still breathing beneath the stars. When the long dream of winter begins to fade, Ooo stretches softly, as though waking from a gentle sleep. The air warms. The snow that once blanketed the mountains recedes into glittering streams, carrying fragments of ice down toward the valleys where candy flowers bloom. The world stirs not suddenly, but quietly, like a melody finding its first few notes. Spring in Ooo doesn't follow the rules of nature we know. It's not about weather or temperature. It's about energy, that invisible hum of renewal that flows through every creature, every kingdom, every corner of this strange, forgiving world. It's the season of beginnings, of laughter returning to places that had long been silent. In the stories of Adventure Time, you can almost feel this invisible spring at work. Every time something new is built, or someone finds hope again after loss, the world itself seems to sigh in relief. And maybe that's because Ooo was born from ruin, a world that ended once, only to start again. So every act of creation, no matter how small, carries that ancient rhythm of rebirth. Think of the Candy Kingdom, a place so whimsical, so colorful, that it's easy to forget its foundations lie upon the remnants of an old, broken civilization. Out of the ashes of war came a world of sugar and laughter, ruled by a princess who turned science into sweetness. Princess Bubblegum's candy citizens are living proof that life can grow from anything, even from something once cold and mechanical. Every smile, every celebration in that kingdom is an echo of spring's eternal truth, that life always finds a way to bloom again. Springtime in Ooo also lives in its people. It's in Finn's laughter, the way his energy fills the air around him like sunlight. Finn embodies that bright, unstoppable momentum of renewal, that human drive to explore, to rebuild, to begin again, even when everything seems uncertain. He is, in many ways, the very spirit of spring wandering through a world that has already seen too many winters. When we see Finn charge into the unknown, what we're really seeing is Ooo itself healing. His bravery, his compassion, his refusal to give up, all of these are the instincts of a world trying to grow again after being broken. It's not just adventure for the sake of fun. It's the universe reminding itself that it still knows how to be alive. And then there's Jake, his loyal brother and friend. Jake's laid-back warmth balances Finn's spark. He brings laughter into the quiet spaces, music into the empty rooms, calm into the chaos. Together they are the perfect harmony of spring youth and peace, curiosity and comfort. Where Finn plants the seeds of change, Jake helps them grow simply by being himself. The animals of Ooo, too, reflect this renewal. Strange hybrid creatures wander freely, born of mutation and magic, yet somehow fitting perfectly into the ecosystem of the absurd. They are the natural children of a land reborn, not flawed, not cursed, but expressions of what happens when life adapts rather than resists. Every blade of grass and every distant songbird is a reminder that the world didn't just survive the apocalypse. It learned how to thrive again in new and wondrous ways. Spring, in this sense, is also forgiveness. Ooo never mourns its past for too long. It honors what was lost, but it doesn't linger there. Instead, it grows around the scars, turning them into something beautiful. A crater becomes a meadow. A broken tower becomes a home. A lonely wanderer becomes a friend. It's as though the universe itself has decided that healing is not about erasing pain, but transforming it into light. There's a quiet symbolism in the way Adventure Time shifts between its playful and emotional tones. Beneath the jokes and colors, there's always a whisper of rebirth. When characters fall apart, they always come back, change softer, wiser, more connected. Marceline, after centuries of loneliness, finds comfort not in grand gestures, but in the simple act of sharing a song. Bubblegum, once hardened by control, learns to trust others again. Even the Ice King, trapped in his endless winter, finds fleeting warmth in friendship. Each of them blooms again in their own time, in their own way. The rebirth of Ooo isn't loud or dramatic. It's gentle, a quiet resilience that fills the air like pollen. It's the laughter that returns after sorrow, the way the sun keeps rising even when no one's watching. You feel it in the colors of the show, how everything seems to shimmer with a soft glow, pinks that melt into yellows, blues that pulse with hidden warmth. Even the ruins are bathed in light, as if the past itself is being gently forgiven. If winter was the season of reflection, spring is the season of possibility. It's when Ooo starts to remember joy again, when its people, creatures, and spirits lean toward the light, not because they've forgotten the dark, but because they've learned to live alongside it. This, perhaps, is the greatest truth hidden within Adventure Time's endless wonder, that renewal doesn't come from forgetting what hurt us, but from growing something beautiful in its place. And as the days lengthen and the land awakens, the stories of Ooo begin to shimmer with new color. Adventure feels lighter, laughter comes easier, and even the smallest gestures, a shared meal, a kind word, a quiet moment, under a pink sky, feel sacred. Because in the land of Ooo, spring is not just a season. It's a feeling, the tender, eternal heartbeat of life beginning again. When we think about spring in Ooo, we might picture rolling candy meadows or fields of vibrant, glowing grass. But the true rebirth of this world doesn't just happen in nature. It happens in the hearts of its people. Every act of kindness, every rediscovery of hope, is another flower opening in the strange garden of existence. Finn's adventures often carry this quiet undercurrent. Each time he chooses compassion over violence, understanding over anger, the world itself seems to brighten. His victories aren't only in battles. They're in forgiveness, in growth, in realizing that strength isn't about destroying what's broken, but nurturing what still has the potential to heal. In Ooo, that lesson repeats like the seasons themselves, endlessly, gently, persistently. Take the story of Tree Trunks, for instance. On the surface, she's just a sweet little elephant who loves making apple pies. But if you look closer, she's a perfect emblem of springtime renewal. She's a creature of simple joys, someone who rebuilds her world again and again after heartbreak, misadventure, or loss. Every time she's hurt, she doesn't close herself off. She opens again, soft and glittering with the kind of optimism that can't be destroyed. Her orchard stands as a metaphor for Ooo itself. Fragile, yes, but stubbornly alive. There's something profoundly peaceful about the way Adventure Time treats renewal. It never demands that its characters become new people. Instead, it allows them to return to themselves, but changed, more tender, more complete. When Princess Bubblegum rebuilds her kingdom after each catastrophe, it's not just her walls she's restoring. It's her trust in the idea that connection, even when messy, is worth it. She's spring in motion, perfection dissolving into imperfection, control softening into care. And then there's BMO, that little console of endless optimism. BMO represents the innocence of rebirth, the pure joy of being alive. Despite being a machine, BMO dreams, sings, plays pretend. Their world is full of imagination, of endless beginnings. BMO's presence reminds us that new life doesn't always mean new matter. Sometimes it's just a new way of seeing. In BMO's laughter, in their songs and games, Ooo feels like it's waking up from its long apocalyptic slumber and remembering what fun feels. Springtime also has its quiet mysteries in Ooo, the sense that every beginning holds a story we don't yet understand. There are ruins that suddenly bloom again, creatures that emerge from centuries-long sleep, old powers that flicker softly back into the world. Magic in Ooo is like the soil of spring, rich, fertile, full of things that were forgotten but never truly gone. It's why so many of its stories feel cyclical. as if the land itself has memories that resurface when the time is right. You can see it in the way Finn and Jake stumble upon forgotten places. A castle overtaken by vines, a temple reborn from roots, a river that glows with unknown light. Every discovery is an echo of spring, the past, revealing itself, not to haunt, but to offer wisdom. Adventure Time quietly suggests that every ruin holds a seed of something new waiting for the right hands to uncover it. And maybe that's why Ooo feels so strangely familiar to us. It's a world shaped by endings, yet it feels hopeful, almost sacred. We recognize that sense of rebirth because we live it ourselves again and again in our mistakes, in our dreams. In every small moment, we choose to begin anew. Spring in Ooo is not separate from us. It's a reflection of the same rhythm we all carry. The urge to start over, no matter how many times the cold has come before. One of the most beautiful representations of this is in Marceline's story. She's lived through Oo's many seasons, its destruction and rebirth, its laughter and sorrow. When she sings, her music feels like sunlight breaking through ice. It's memory turned melody, a soul thawing after a long, long winter. Through her songs, we glimpse the tender heart of the world she's seen change. She mourns what's gone, but never stops believing in what can return. That's what makes her timeless. She feels the cycles of Ooo, carries them in her voice, and transforms grief into something living again. Spring, after all, is not the absence of death, it's life continuing in spite of it. Adventure Time reminds us that even when everything seems to end, something else quietly begins beneath the surface. It could be a flower blooming in a crack of rubble. It could be a friendship rekindled after years of silence. It could be the moment someone chooses to see beauty again after losing it for a long time. The beauty of Ooo spring isn't just in its magic. It's in its patience. Things grow slowly there. They unfold at their own pace, as if the world itself is mindful of every breath, every rustle of wind through the candy grass. This unhurried rebirth is what makes Ooo feel so alive. It mirrors the slow, inevitable way that healing truly works. So when we watch an episode where Finn laughs again after heartbreak, or Bubblegum smiles despite exhaustion, or Marceline strums a hopeful tune under a pink sunrise, we are witnessing spring in its truest form. It's not just nature renewing itself, it's the human spirit, soft and stubborn, learning to live again in the land of dreams. Even in the quietest corners of Ooo, spring has a way of announcing itself. Not always with bright colors or blooming trees. Sometimes it begins with a single sound, the soft hum of magic returning to the air, or the faint chirping of something newly alive in the distance. It's as though the land itself sighs awake, remembering that it's time to feel again. The grasslands, for example, always seem to carry this pulse of renewal. When the morning mist lifts, the fields shimmer faintly, as if the dew is holding onto dreams from the night before. If you stand still enough, you can almost imagine hearing the faint laughter of old heroes carried in the breeze. Maybe it's the echo of the past, or maybe it's the spirit of the world gently stretching after its long sleep. In Ooo, such things are never certain, and that's part of the wonder. Every spring also feels like a small rebellion against the past. After the Mushroom War, when everything was left broken and silent, nature returned without hesitation. Plants grew over the ruins, animals made homes out of collapsed buildings, and magic began to flow again through the cracks in the earth. What was once a scar became fertile ground. It's as if Ooo itself refused to surrender to decay instead. It chose to create beauty out of the remnants of destruction. And that's something we see reflected in so many of the show's characters. Each of them has faced ruin in their own way, and yet they bloom again. For Finn and Jake's friendship, for example, is one of the most vivid symbols of Oo's spring. Their bond, full of laughter and forgiveness, constantly renews itself through every trial. They argue, drift apart, and find each other again like the seasons turning, like the flowers that never fail to rise once more. There's a quiet kind of immortality in love like that. Then there's the Candy Kingdom, a place that could have easily become sterile or stagnant under Princess Bubblegum's order and control. And yet, it thrives colorful, unpredictable, always filled with life. Phoebe herself is like a scientist of spring, creating, experimenting, and nurturing life even when it frightens her. Her creations sometimes fail, sometimes turn against her, but she never truly stops building. Her world hums with the same stubborn energy as the growing season, full of mistakes, yes, but also full of possibilities. It's fascinating how Adventure Time weaves this theme of renewal not only into its landscapes, but into its emotional fabric. When you think about the relationships in Ooo between friends, between lovers, between lost souls who find each other again, you realize they all carry the energy of spring. They're proof that connection can return even after the coldest winters of loneliness. Marceline and Bubblegum's story, for instance, is one of the purest examples of this. Years of distance and misunderstanding eventually melt away into a quiet, mature kind of love, a love that doesn't erase the past but grows from it, like flowers sprouting through old stone. Even magic in Ooo behaves like spring. It's never truly gone. It simply hibernates. Sometimes it's dormant beneath the earth or hidden within forgotten relics. And then one day it awakens again, reshaped, reimagined, renewed. The Enchiridion, the Nightosphere, the ancient artifacts scattered across the land, they're all echoes of the world's cycles. They remind us that every spell, every story, eventually finds its way back into the light. Spring in Ooo isn't just a season, it's a promise. The promise that no matter how much time has passed or how strange things have become, life will always find a way to return. It's in the way Jake stretches toward the sun after a long nap, in the way Finn runs barefoot through a field that didn't exist the day before. It's in the laughter of tiny creatures peeking out from the candy thickets, testing the air like they've just learned what joy feels like. And maybe, beyond all the adventures and battles, that's what Ooo is truly about, the courage to begin again. Every time something ends in Adventure Time, the show reminds us that endings are simply a shift in form. The tree that falls becomes soil for new roots. The kingdom that crumbles becomes legend. The hero who rests becomes myth. Nothing is wasted. Everything transforms. It's this gentle optimism that makes Ooo feel so deeply alive. When you watch its stories unfold, you can sense the quiet rhythm of rebirth pulsing underneath it all like a lullaby sung by the land itself. It tells you that no matter how many winters you've endured, no matter how long it's been since you last felt alive, spring will always come again. It may take time, it may come softly, but it will arrive. And when it does, it won't ask for grand gestures or fanfare. It will come in whispers, in the warmth of friendship, in the laughter shared after sorrow, in the first light of a new morning that glows golden over the strange and beautiful land of Ooo. Spring in Ooo doesn't only belong to the living, it belongs to memory, too. The land seems to remember everything that came before, holding each story gently in its soil. When new life rises, it carries traces of the old. Flowers sprout where once there was ruin. New heroes walk the paths of forgotten ones. It's as if time in Ooo isn't a straight line, but a spiral circling back to places it's already been, bringing with it new light each time it returns. You can feel this especially when we think of Simon Petrikov, the man who was once the Ice King. His journey, tragic and beautiful, feels like Oo's own awakening in miniature. For so long he was frozen, trapped in endless winter, not only in body but in mind and heart. Yet beneath that ice, there was always something alive, waiting for spring. When the crown's curse begins to weaken, when moments of Simon peek through the madness, it feels like thawing. It's the first drip of melting ice, the first sign that warmth can still reach even the coldest places. And when Simon finally finds peace, when the world remembers him, not as a villain, but as a man who once loved deeply, that spring too. It's rebirth through memory, redemption through time's gentle forgiveness. Ooo is filled with these quiet renewals. Each one feels small on its own, but together they form a symphony of growth, a reminder that the world keeps choosing to begin again. Even the smallest things, like the way sunlight filters through the candy forest after rain, or how a blade of grass grows between the cracks of ancient ruins, feel sacred in this place. In one of the show's most tender patterns, spring also becomes a teacher. It shows the people of Ooo and us watching from our own world that starting over doesn't mean forgetting what came before. It means carrying it forward, transforming it. When Finn learns from his mistakes, when Marceline finds peace with her past, when PB allows herself to feel instead of calculate, those are the true blossoms of spring. Growth in Ooo isn't about perfection. It's about continuity, about learning to live with the scars of the past and letting something beautiful bloom in their place. And this is perhaps why spring feels so emotional in Adventure Time. It's not painted only in bright colors and cheerful songs. It's also found in quiet reconciliation. In moments when someone says, "I forgive you," or when two friends share a silent look that says, "We made it through." These are the seeds that keep the land of Ooo alive. Sometimes spring in Ooo feels like a dream of the old world before the Mushroom War, a faint echo of what life once was. But the magic of it lies in how it doesn't try to return to the past. It builds something new from it. Every kingdom, every forest, every creature born anew in Ooo is part of this gentle reconstruction. The world doesn't hide its scars, it grows around them. The cracked mountains, the half-sunken ruins, even the strange creatures that dwell in them all are part of the same grand renewal. And if you look closely at the way the show moves through its tone and colors, you'll see how the animation itself mirrors this season. There are moments when everything feels soft and luminous greens melting into yellows, skies painted with hazy pinks. It's as if the air itself is breathing. The world doesn't rush toward life, it unfolds into it. Just like Oo's people, it takes its time. It learns to trust warmth again, to stretch towards sunlight without fear that it might vanish too soon. Even in Oo's stranger corners, the ruins of old cities, the shadowed caves, the remnants of the forgotten world, there's a sense that everything hums with quiet potential. It's as if the land itself knows that no matter what has happened, it's still part of something greater. It's still part of the cycle. And so it continues. In the soft rhythm of Oo's spring, we see the spirit of renewal not as a dramatic transformation, but as something humble and enduring. The same way a heart begins to heal after sorrow, or a forest slowly grows back after fire. There's no announcement, no thunderous change, just the steady return of life, one petal, one song, one heartbeat at a time. That's what makes the land of Ooo feel eternal. It doesn't just survive, it renews. It remembers that every ending, no matter how final it seems, is also a seed. And every seed carries within it the story of everything that came before. So when we look at the springtime of Ooo, at its glowing skies and laughing rivers, its friends reunited and hearts reopened, we're seeing more than a season. We're seeing the promise of the whole world. A promise that no matter how dark the winter was, life will return. That love, in all its forms, will always find a way to grow again. And maybe as we watch from our own small corners of the world, we can feel that same rhythm stirring inside us. The call to begin again, to trust warmth after cold, to see beauty where it once seemed lost. That's the quiet magic of Oo's spring, a reminder that the story never truly ends. It just keeps blooming. Quiet journey through the unseen seasons of Ooo. We've wandered through the rebirth of spring, feeling the land stir and stretch after its long winter sleep. Now we drift gently forward into the warmth and wonder of summer, the season of adventure. In the land of Ooo, summer feels endless, not just in its weather or its light, but in its spirit. It's the age of exploration, of friendship, of running through fields without needing to know where they lead. The kind of time that feels suspended, where each day carries the same golden tone and every horizon looks like a promise. For Finn and Jake, summer is the heartbeat of their story. Their adventures, though scattered across every imaginable landscape, all carry that same warm pulse, curiosity, courage, and the joy of simply being alive. They live in the bright stretch of life's day, when everything feels possible and the world is humming with discovery. You can see it in the way Finn charges into the unknown, never hesitating, his spirit glowing like sunlight on water, and in Jake's easy laughter, that slow and steady rhythm that reminds us that even in adventure, there's space to breathe. Together, they embody what Oo's summer truly means, not a time of restlessness, but of aliveness. When you watch their adventures, you notice how light itself becomes a character. The colors of Ooo grow bolder, yellows deepen. Skies turn wide and blue, and shadows stretch gently across golden grass. It's a season where the land seems awake and proud of it. Everything shines a little brighter, as though touched by the same spark that drives Finn and Jake onward. Summer in Ooo is full of stories that feel like songs. Each episode, in its own way, is a verse in the great melody of discovery. The tune shifts from playful to profound, from laughter to quiet reflection, but always returns to that same refrain that living, truly living, is an adventure in itself. Think of the times when Finn and Jake stumbled upon something entirely new, a mysterious creature in the forest, a kingdom they've never seen, a secret cave that hums with ancient energy. Those moments are Oo's sunlight at its brightest, pure, spontaneous, brimming with possibility. There's no rush in these discoveries. The world opens itself like a storybook, one page at a time, and the boys simply wander through it, curious and unafraid. But beneath the laughter and the color, there's a deeper warmth, too, the kind that comes from companionship. Summer in Ooo isn't just about the world outside. It's about the bonds that grow stronger under its light. Finn and Jake's friendship is as steady as the sun. It's playful, imperfect, full of teasing and tenderness. They argue, they get lost, they fail, and yet they always find their way back to each other. That's the rhythm of summer. Long days that stretch and bend, but never truly break. Every friendship and adventure time seems to thrive in this season's spirits. Marceline and Bubblegum rediscover what they mean to one another. The people of the Candy Kingdom share picnics, laughter, and tiny acts of kindness that ripple through the air. Even the strangest of creatures seem softer in the warmth, less haunted by the past, more open to the present. There's a sense that in Ooo, summer isn't just a season, it's a state of being. A time when everyone, no matter how odd or lost, gets a chance to shine in their own way. When you look at it that way, Finn's endless energy, Jake's peace, BMO's imagination, they're all expressions of the same radiant moment. And maybe that's why summer in Ooo feels eternal. It's not bound by the ticking of time, but by the feeling of now. The sun doesn't rise to measure the day it rises, to remind the world to live, to explore, to laugh, to fall, to get up again. The adventures may seem random, even chaotic, but they're really the heartbeat of existence, each one a spark in the long, golden day of Oo's summer. When Finn fights monsters or rescues kingdoms, it's rarely about victory. It's about learning, about reaching towards something greater without needing to understand it completely. Adventure Time Summer doesn't glorify action. It celebrates curiosity. Every quest is a question whispered into the vastness of the world, and every answer comes back softly, reminding us that the journey is what matters, not the destination. So, as we walk through this season together, imagine the air of Ooo shimmering with warmth. Picture the sky stretching endlessly above rolling candy hills, the laughter of heroes echoing faintly in the distance, the scent of adventure mingling with wildflowers. This is summer in Ooo alive, generous and endlessly unfolding. And as we follow its golden path, we begin to see that even this bright and joyous season holds its own kind of wisdom, a truth hidden beneath the laughter, waiting to be heard in the quiet between adventures. If you look closely at Ooo during its summertime glow, you'll notice how the world itself seems to hum in harmony with its heroes. The rivers sparkle like living ribbon. The grass whispers softly when the wind passes through, and even the clouds seem to float slower, lazily painting the sky. It's as if everything in Ooo, from the tiniest creature to the tallest mountain, shares in the same rhythm of discovery and joy. For Finn, this season marks the height of his journey, not because of victory, but because of becoming. Summer is when his curiosity blossoms into something larger, when he begins to see the world not as a playground, but as a living, breathing mystery. Every adventure feels like a conversation between himself and the land he protects. When he meets strange creatures, from the fire people to the denizens of the nightosphere, he learns a new kind of empathy. He sees that every being in Ooo, no matter how different or frightening, carries its own small spark of summer inside. Jake, too, embodies the ease of this season. His carefree nature isn't laziness, it's understanding. Jake knows how to flow with life, to stretch and bend without breaking. He's the calm center of every storm, teaching Finn and us that true adventure isn't always about running forward. Sometimes it's about slowing down, feeling the sun on your fur, and realizing that you're already where you're meant to be. In many ways, Jake is the spirit of Ooo summer itself, gentle, patient, endlessly adaptable. What's so enchanting about this season in Adventure Time is that even amidst the chaos, everything feels alive with purpose. The Candy Kingdom bustles with life citizens, bustling, laughing, creating. The Flame Kingdom burns bright, full of passion and change. The Ice Kingdom, though cold, still glimmers with its own version of sunlight, reflected through ice crystals that refract color like rainbows. Even the darkest corners of Ooo, the abandoned temples and forgotten dungeons, seem touched by this golden warmth. Adventure Time storytelling in these moments feels like a summer afternoon that never quite ends. Each episode flows into the next, sometimes with clear purpose, sometimes without, but always with a sense of wonder. The show's creators often described Adventure Time as a conversation between a child and the universe. And nowhere is that more true than in this golden age of exploration. Finn's questions are endless, but instead of being answered directly, they echo through the world, answered softly by experience itself. It's also in summer that the bonds between characters deepen most naturally. You can feel it in small, tender moments. When Finn and Jake lie in the grass watching the stars, or when BMO tells stories to no one in particular, simply for the joy of sharing. There's an intimacy in these scenes, a warmth that reminds us that adventure isn't only found in distant lands sometimes. It's found in simply being together. Marceline's music carries that same sunlit melancholy, that feeling of being both free and a little wistful. Her songs drift through Ooo like gentle breezes, reminding us that even in the height of joy, there's always a touch of longing. Summer, after all, is beautiful because it doesn't last forever. Every laugh, every adventure, every glowing sunset carries with it the faint scent of transience, the awareness that change will come again. But in Ooo, that awareness doesn't bring sadness. It makes the moment more precious. There's something truly profound about how Adventure Time treats the concept of fun. It's never shallow or careless, it's soulful. When Finn leaps into danger, when Jake cracks a joke, when the two of them wander without a plan, it's not meaningless noise. It's a kind of meditation, a joyful acceptance of existence itself. The laughter that fills their days isn't a distraction from the deeper truths of the world. It's an embrace of them. And that's what summer in Ooo really is, the long, golden embrace. It's the universe saying, live now, feel now, love now. Because everything, the quests, the monsters, the sunsets, is fleeting, but beautiful because of it. In these moments, Ooo becomes more than a setting. It becomes a reflection of the inner landscape of growing up, of learning to love the present even when the future looms uncertain. The world stretches endlessly, and not because it's infinite, but because every experience feels infinite when you're truly alive within it. And maybe that's why, even after hundreds of episodes, we never tire of watching Finn and Jake set out on another journey, because their adventures, bathed in that eternal summer light, remind us of something essential, that being alive, curious, and kind is the greatest adventure of all. Summer in Ooo is not just warmth and sunlight. It's the season of expansion of hearts, horizons, and ideas. It's the time when everything and everyone reaches outward, testing their edges, learning what it means to exist fully. You can feel it in the air, that quiet hum of confidence, the way even the rivers seem to rush with purpose, as though they know exactly where they're meant to go. For Finn, this is the age of becoming. His boyhood curiosity begins to deepen into understanding. Every quest, every strange encounter, every victory and failure is shaping him into someone wiser, someone aware that the world is more than just monsters to fight or treasures to find. It's in summer that Finn begins to ask bigger questions. What does it mean to be a hero? What does it mean to grow up? What does love or loss truly feel like? Adventure Time never answers those questions outright. Instead, it lets the season itself teach him. When he befriends Flame Princess, we see the fiery side of summer, passion, intensity, and transformation. Their connection burns brightly, then fades, but in its heat, Finn learns about vulnerability, about how beauty and pain can exist in the same heartbeat. The fire of their relationship doesn't destroy him, it refines him, much like the world of Ooo refines itself through every cycle. There's a scene, simple but powerful, where Finn stands at the edge of a glowing field, the horizon bathed in soft amber light. The wind stirs his hat, and for a brief moment, he's completely still. It's as though he's realizing that adventure doesn't always mean moving sometimes. It means feeling. That stillness is the essence of Oo's summer, a reminder that growth happens in the quiet moments between the chaos. Jake, of course, continues to be Finn's compass during these days. His wisdom, often disguised as laziness, teaches Finn that joy isn't found at the end of the quest. It's woven to the journey itself. Jake's philosophy of chill and flow may seem simple, but it's deeply cosmic. It's the same rhythm that the world itself follows. The river that winds because it can, the sunlight that warms because it wants to. Through Jake, we see that summer's energy isn't about constant motion, but balance, that perfect harmony between effort and ease. And then there's BMO, whose summer is made of wonder. While Finn and Jake explore the outside world, BMO explores the inner one, the realm of imagination and innocence. Through their eyes, we see the unfiltered joy of being. Every small discovery, a new game, a pretend adventure, a song becomes its own universe. BMO reminds us that adventure doesn't have to be grand to be meaningful. Sometimes the truest exploration is in learning to delight in the ordinary, the way sunlight hits a wall, or how laughter feels in a quiet room. Even Oo's landscapes echo this philosophy. The forests are lush and wild, full of paths that lead nowhere and everywhere. The oceans shimmer with hidden life, calling out to the curious. The skies seem wider than ever, filled with drifting clouds that take on shapes of forgotten dreams. Every corner of the world seems to whisper the same truth. Go, see, feel, but don't hurry. Summer also marks the height of Oo's creativity. Princess Bubblegum's inventions come alive, sometimes literally. Marceline writes songs that catch in the air like pollen, traveling from one lonely soul to another. Magic users experiment, artists create, and wanderers roam. There's a shared sense of possibility, as though the world itself is daring everyone to imagine more. It's the season where Oo's imagination feels boundless, where even mistakes become part of the music. But as with all golden things, there's a soft melancholy beneath it. The longer the sun stays high, the more the shadows begin to lengthen. You can sense that this abundance, this endless energy, won't last forever. Adventure Time has always been aware of impermanence, even in its happiest moments. And so the joy of Oo's summer is tinged with a gentle awareness that every adventure, no matter how radiant, will one day end. Still, the people of Ooo don't let that truth darken their days. They embrace it. They live fully, love deeply, laugh loudly, and rest when the sun goes down. Because they know, in a way, only a timeless world can, that the beauty of a moment lies in the fact that it will pass. That's what gives it meaning. When Finn and Jake return home after a long day of adventure, their laughter fading into the evening air, there's a stillness that follows a glow that lingers long after the sun has dipped below the horizon. That's the heart of Oo's summer. Not the adventure itself, but the afterglow of having lived it. The feeling that even if the day ends, the memory will continue to shimmer in the quiet corners of your mind. And in that still golden light, Ooo feels at peace. Every blade of grass, every ripple on the water, every resting hero seems to breathe in unison. The world has lived another day, and for now, that's enough. As the long summer days begin to stretch thinner, Ooo enters a sort of dreamlike calm, a golden haze that hangs over the land. The adventures continue, but there's a different rhythm now. The pace slows just enough for the characters and for us to notice the small things. The glow of a sunset against the Candy Kingdom's towers, the hum of distant insects in the grasslands, the way Finn's shadow grows longer each evening. It's in this quiet stretch that the summer of Ooo begins to feel less like a season and more like a memory in motion. Every story told during this time carries a subtle warmth, like sunlight captured in glass. Think of the episodes that revolve around friendship, music, or reflection. The ones where the adventure isn't about fighting or exploring, but simply being. Thank You, for instance, where the snow golem and the firewolf pup share a wordless bond of care, is pure summer magic. It's gentle, fleeting, and full of heart. A moment where Ooo reminds us that even creatures born from opposing elements can find peace in shared warmth. Finn's growth also reaches a quiet milestone here. He begins to understand that adventure doesn't always mean heroism. Sometimes it means acceptance. He learns that not every problem can be solved with a sword, that not every wrong can be righted by force. The summer teaches him compassion, patience, and the beauty of simply listening to the world around him. There's something deeply poetic in that shift in watching a boy who once raced headlong into danger begin to pause and wonder why things are the way they are. Jake, in his ever-easy wisdom, mirrors this evolution too. The closer he gets to becoming a father, the more he embodies the spirit of Summer's late days, mellow, wise, a little nostalgic. His adventures with Finn start to feel like cherished routines rather than quests. The laughter between them softens into something enduring. Their friendship, forged in countless trials, now feels like an old song, one that never really ends, just fades into quieter notes. Even the land itself reflects this emotional shift. The brightness of summer starts to turn softer, as though the sky itself knows change is coming. The Candy Kingdom's colors deepen. The trees begin to rustle, with a new kind of voice, one that hints of autumn's approach. Yet for now, the warmth still lingers, and Ooo continues to dance in its light. The birds still sing, the rivers still play, and in every corner of the world, something is alive with purpose. Summer is also when Oo's sense of community shines brightest. It's the season when bonds are formed and reforged, when characters who once seemed distant or strange find common ground. The Flame Kingdom opens its borders just a little wider. Marceline, usually lost in her solitude, drifts closer to her friends, playing music that sounds like the echo of setting suns. Even Ice King, lost in his delusions, shares small moments of tenderness, like when he joins a campfire sing-along without realizing how profoundly his presence changes the mood. In those brief flickers, we glimpse the heart of Adventure Time, the belief that connection, no matter how strange, broken, or fleeting, is sacred. There's also an unspoken truth that flows through these summer stories, that joy and sadness are never far apart. Every moment of laughter carries within it a quiet echo of goodbye. Every warm day is shadowed by the promise of rain, and yet that doesn't make the happiness less real. If anything, it makes it deeper, more human, more meaningful. Ooo seems to know this instinctively. Its people don't hide from the truth of endings. They simply live brighter while they can. So much of Adventure Time's beauty lies in this understanding that life isn't about chasing endless adventure, but about embracing the present. Summer, in its full and fading glory, is the embodiment of that truth. It tells us that living fully means accepting that everything changes, that even the brightest moments will one day dim, and that's what makes them so precious. As the segment closes, picture the sun setting over Ooo. The horizon burns with a soft golden red glow. Finn and Jake lie back on a hill, their faces calm, their voices fading into laughter. BMO hums a tune that carries through the evening air. There's peace in their stillness, a quiet, steady peace that feels like the heartbeat of the land itself. And somewhere far above, perhaps unseen, the stars begin to stir, ready to witness the next turn of the cycle. The world is preparing to shift again. The air cools, the light fades, and in the gentle silence that follows, Ooo exhales. The age of adventure has burned bright, full of life and learning. And now, as the warmth begins to wane, the land readies itself for reflection, for change, for the slow descent into something quieter and more introspective. The sun dips below the edge of the world, and for a moment, everything glows not with the brightness of day, but with the memory of it, a memory that will linger long after the last light fades, whispering softly into the coming dusk. The golden warmth of summer has softened, like the last embers of a campfire slowly dimming in the night. The air feels different now, cooler, thinner, carrying with it the gentle scent of endings. Tonight we drift into the hush of autumn, the fading of heroes. Autumn in Ooo isn't just a season of falling leaves. It's a feeling, a shift in the rhythm of the world. The forests turn to amber and rust. The clouds move slower, casting long shadows over once bustling fields. Even the creatures of Ooo are so full of life in the brighter months, now seem contemplative, quieter. The land feels like it's holding its breath, remembering all that has come before. This is the season when the stories of heroes begin to settle into memory, not because they've been forgotten, but because time itself has begun to fold them gently into legend. Finn is no longer the eager boy racing through forests and battling monsters for glory. His adventures have changed shape, softer, more inward. He's learning what it means to grow older in a world that never stays still. You can see it in the way he looks at his sword, not with excitement, but with understanding. Every scratch and nick along its edge tells a story. The metal no longer gleams like it once did, but there's beauty in its wear. It's a reflection of Finn himself, once radiant, with youthful energy, now tempered, quieter, but stronger in ways that can't be seen. The tone of Ooo changes with him. The skies take on deeper hues, like watercolor paintings washed with gold and violet. The wind moves gently through the trees, carrying echoes of old songs, Marceline's melodies, Bubblegum's mechanical hums, Jake's laughter fading in the distance. Everything feels slower, more deliberate, as if the world itself is taking time to remember. Autumn is when Adventure Time turns its gaze inward, exploring what it means to let go. The show has always hinted at impermanence, but here it begins to linger on it, to sit with it in silence. We start to see goodbyes not as endings, but as transformations. When characters move apart or when friendships shift, it's not tragic. It's natural, part of the rhythm that Ooo has always followed. Finn, once the symbol of boundless energy, begins to feel the weight of all he's experienced. He's loved and lost, fought and forgiven, dreamed and awakened. There's a certain kind of peace in him now, not because he's done growing, but because he understands that growth doesn't always mean movement. Sometimes it means stillness. Sometimes it means saying farewell. Jake, too, begins to drift into a gentler space. His adventures become less about discovery and more about reflection. He spends more time with his family, more time watching the sky than chasing it. There's a quiet joy in that, a reminder that even heroes need to rest. In many ways, Jake embodies autumn itself, mellow, grounded, full of wisdom that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. And in the background of all this, Ooo feels older. The ruins seem more pronounced. The once bustling lands grow sparse. The Candy Kingdom, still vibrant, carries a subtle melancholy, the sweetness now tinged with the knowledge that nothing lasts forever. Even Princess Bubblegum, who once clung to control and logic, begins to understand that not every structure can be maintained, not every experiment can be perfected. The universe, like nature, must eventually decay so that something new can bloom. Autumn is the bridge between what was and what's coming. It's the whisper between memory and dream. The characters we've known for so long begin to transform before our eyes, not into something entirely different, but into deeper versions of themselves. There's a beautiful, almost sacred stillness in the way the world changes during the season. The golden leaves drifting through the air feel like the passing of moments, brief, luminous, and endlessly graceful. Ooo, in its quiet way, is teaching us the same lesson it teaches its heroes, that endings are not to be feared. They are simply the natural sigh of time moving forward. When Finn looks across the landscape, he doesn't see a battlefield anymore. He sees life, the trees, the clouds, the remnants of old adventures blending into the present. It's as though he's finally seen Ooo as it truly is, not a land to conquer, but a living, breathing story that he's been part of all along. And in that realization, there's a soft sadness yet, but also peace. Because the fating of heroes isn't about loss. It's about transformation. It's about learning that even legends must rest, and that rest itself is a kind of beauty. The music of Ooo changes too. The melodies that once marched with energy now hum with nostalgia. The guitar strings sound softer, slower, as though they too are winding down. Marceline's voice carries differently, not mournful, but knowing. She sings to the quiet, to the in-between, to the ghosts of what once was. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear the world humming back in perfect harmony. Autumn is the heart of reflection. It's the space where Ooo remembers what it has been, even as it prepares for what it will become. And somewhere within that reflection, within that gentle decay, a strange kind of peace begins to take root, the kind that only comes from accepting the passage of time. In the quiet rhythm of autumn, Ooo becomes a land of memory. The bright greens of summer have deepened into shades of amber and bronze, and the sun now sets with an older kind of light one that lingers longer, as though unwilling to let go of the world it has illuminated. You can feel that hesitance in the characters, too. They are still moving, still laughing and living, but there's something more contemplative in the way they do it now. Each step feels aware of the path beneath it. Each word carries the echo of everything that came before. Finn often walks alone during this time, not because he's lonely, but because he's searching not for monsters or quests, but for understanding. The hero's journey has always been about finding meaning, and now, in the fading warmth of Oo's autumn, Finn's quest has turned inward. He wanders the meadows and mountains, retracing steps from old adventures, seeing familiar places through new eyes. The old treehouse, once a place of constant excitement, now stands like a monument to all the laughter and chaos that once filled it. The sword he carries at his side feels heavier now, not from battle, but from memory. There's something tender in how Adventure Time handles this stage of Finn's life. It doesn't dramatize his aging or his slowing down. It treats it as natural, inevitable, and beautiful. The show allows him to be quiet, to simply exist without always striving. That stillness mirrors the turning season. Ooo itself is slowing, exhaling, preparing for what comes next. Jake, ever the mirror to Finn's soul, reflects the same serenity. His days are filled with warmth and family Lady Rainicorn, their children, and the soft ease of domestic joy. Yet even in his laughter, there's a certain wistfulness, an awareness that nothing gold can stay. He speaks to Finn about the cycles of life, the way everything, even adventure, must have its rest. Jake has always understood the cosmic rhythm of the world, that for every sunrise there must be dusk, for every laugh there must be quiet. And as autumn deepens, that truth becomes more visible everywhere in Ooo. Marceline's songs take on the tone of autumn to nostalgic, reflective, and full of bittersweet warmth. Her music doesn't mourn what's gone, it remembers. She sings for the memories that shaped her, for the friends she's lost and found, for the long centuries that have passed like falling leaves. Her voice carries the gentle ache of immortality, that unique sorrow of someone who must keep walking while the seasons and faces around her fade. And yet, there's beauty in that sadness. In her melodies, Ooo finds a way to honor both the living and the remembered. Even Princess Bubblegum, so often consumed by logic and leadership, begins to soften under the influence of the season. The Candy Kingdom grows quieter, the glow of her laboratories dimming earlier each night. She spends more time outside, watching the colors change, allowing herself to simply feel. There's a moment, fleeting but powerful, where she admits to herself that control is an illusion, that perfection is impossible, and that maybe that's all right. Her kingdom, like the world, must be allowed to age, to decay, and to begin again. In that acceptance, Bubblegum feels more human than ever. Throughout Ooo, the colors fade, but the world grows richer. The fallen leaves carpet the ground like the pages of old stories. Every corner of the land hums with quiet wisdom, as if whispering that change is not loss, it's the breath between chapters. Even the monsters grow calmer, less restless. The grass spirits, the talking trees, the far-off cosmic beings all seem to sense that the great rhythm is slowing, preparing for its pause. It's during this time that Adventure Time begins to show the heroes as part of something larger, not just individuals, but threads in an endless tapestry. Finn's adventures, Jake's laughter, Marceline's songs, Bubblegum's inventions, all of it becomes part of Oo's living memory. None of it is gone. It simply changes form. A story told by the wind, a melody carried in the rustle of leaves. Autumn, more than any other season, reminds us that even endings are alive. They breathe softly, like the earth after rain. They hold warmth, even as the air cools. And Ooo, in its quiet, ancient wisdom, understands this perfectly. It doesn't resist the fading light. It welcomes it, like an old friend returning home. As Finn sits beside a slowly burning campfire, watching the sparks rise into the cooling air, there's no sadness in his eyes, only stillness, only gratitude. He knows now that being a hero was never about fighting the dark. It was about learning to live within it, to find beauty even as the light fades. The fire crackles beside him, small but steady, and its glow reflects the truth he's come to understand, that every flame eventually becomes part of the night sky. As the days grow shorter, a kind of golden melancholy settles over Ooo. The once bright sky deepens into a richer hue, not gray, but burnished and old, like parchment that's held too many stories. The land seems to hum softly in its sleep, aware that its heartbeat is slowing. Autumn isn't a sad season here. It's a gentle truth-teller, whispering that even wonder must rest. For Finn, these days are filled with quiet realizations. He still wakes up each morning with that spark, the need to do something meaningful, but the meaning has changed. It's no longer about fighting monsters or saving kingdoms. Now it's about mending fences, helping friends, sitting beside someone who's lonely. His bravery has matured into kindness. His courage is now found in his patience, in his ability to listen and to stay. In this softer version of heroism, he begins to resemble the world he protects, strong, weathered, and endlessly forgiving. He spends more time revisiting old places, the ruins of ancient cities, the fields where he and Jake once sparred, the quiet shores of the ocean, where he first felt small beneath the stars. Each place feels different now, as though the land itself has aged alongside him. And maybe it has, for in Ooo, the world and its people are never separate. The soil holds memory. The air carries echoes. The trees that watched Finn's earliest adventures now sway with age, their branches bowing lower, their leaves a final blaze of orange and red. Jake joins him sometimes, the two of them walking without a goal, just to feel the world beneath their feet. Their conversations have changed too. They speak less, laugh softer, but every word carries more meaning. Jake, with his easy smile and slow wisdom, reminds Finn that this stillness isn't the end of adventure. It's just another form of it. Sometimes, Jake tells him as they watch the sunset, The biggest adventure is learning to stay put. There's a tenderness in that idea that growing older doesn't mean losing one's spark, but learning how to let it burn more steadily. Finn doesn't fight it anymore. He leans into the quiet, into the rhythm of a world that's beginning to dim. He's learning the same lesson Ooo has known since the dawn of its strange and beautiful existence, that endings are not failures, they are fulfillments. Meanwhile, the world around them mirrors this change. The forests turn deep crimson. The Candy Kingdom's lanterns glow earlier, casting soft reflections across the cobbled streets. Even the air feels thicker, like it's holding stories within it, tales of old battles, lost loves, forgotten dreams. Every breeze carries the sigh of the land preparing to sleep. The sky darkens earlier each night, and the stars, bright and watchful, seem to draw closer, as if eager to keep watch over the fading heroes below. Marceline, as she so often does, drifts through this season like a ghost of memory and music. Her songs sound different now, slower, deeper, more thoughtful. She sings to the changing trees, to the empty plains, to the quiet spaces that once rang with laughter. And though her melodies are tinged with sorrow, they're also full of gratitude. She understands what few others can, that there's a kind of love in letting go. She has watched centuries pass, seen empires rise and fall, yet she never stops caring. Autumn seems made for her. Its beauty lies in what remains after everything else fades. Princess Bubblegum's journey mirrors the world's turning as well. Her restless inventing slows. The once constant hum of her machines grows still. She begins to realize that not every question needs an answer, and not every creation must last forever. There's wisdom in imperfection, in entropy, in the delicate collapse of all things. She starts tending to her gardens again, letting nature grow wild and free, no longer forcing it into shape. That in itself is an act of surrender and a quiet form of healing. Even Ice King, lonely, erratic, and broken as he is, seems gentler now. His madness feels less like chaos and more like a fading echo of who he used to be. In one of the show's most touching unspoken truths, we sense that his long, icy sorrow is thawing. He, too, is finding peace in the slow fading of his legend. The world remembers him not for his madness, but for the love buried beneath it, the love of a man who once tried to save everything and lost himself along the way. As all these threads intertwine, Ooo becomes a mosaic of quiet farewells. The heroes are still here, but they're no longer fighting against time, they're walking alongside it. Every falling leaf feels like a page turning in a great cosmic book. The story isn't ending, it's simply moving into a gentler chapter. In this soft light, even decay feels holy. The ruins glow with beauty. The silence feels alive. Ooo reminds us that the world doesn't disappear when it fades, it transforms. The laughter, the battles, the songs, they all become part of the soil, the wind, the stars. And as Finn looks to the sky one last time before night falls, he understands what the world has been trying to teach him all along, that even heroes must one day rest, and that rest, too, is sacred. And so autumn deepens. The winds grow cooler, carrying with them the scent of changed dry leaves, rain-soaked earth, and something older, something that feels like memory itself. The land of Ooo, once vibrant and restless, now seems to move at a slower rhythm, as though it's savoring the last golden stretch before winter's quiet arrives. Finn spends more time in reflection now. He sits by campfires longer, the flames dancing gently against the soft chill of twilight. Sometimes Jake joins him, sometimes he doesn't. There's peace in both, in the company of an old friend and in the solitude of thought. The world no longer calls to him with the same urgency. It whispers instead. and Finn listens. He listens to the creak of trees, to the hum of distant magic, to the soft sighs of a land that has lived many lives before his. Every now and then he catches glimpses of the past, not visions, but sensations, the echo of a battle cry, the laughter of a younger self, the warmth of sunlight on armor that no longer fits. He smiles at these memories, not with longing, but with gratitude. The boy who once swung a sword to prove himself has grown into someone who understands that true strength lies in knowing when to lay it down. Jake, too, begins to settle more deeply into his own rhythm. His adventures have slowed, his body stretching less often, his days filled with simple joys, breakfast with his family, quiet naps beneath the trees, conversations that wander like lazy rivers. Yet even as he slows, there's something infinite about him. Jake's acceptance of life's flow feels almost cosmic, as if he's in tune with the very pulse of the world. Everything's everything, he once said. And in autumn, that truth feels clearer than ever. Ooo, now draped in amber and gold, becomes a world suspended between presence and memory. The forests glow with an inner light, their leaves falling like golden confetti from the sky. The Candy Kingdom prepares for rest, its citizens bustling with quiet purpose, tidying and preserving, as though honoring the cycle itself. The Flame Kingdom burns lower, its fires tempered but still alive, like the fading warmth of a sunset. Every kingdom, every creature, seems to understand the season that life is moving gently toward stillness, and that stillness is not an end, but a continuation in another form. Marceline's music carries through these days like a breeze that knows the language of time. Her songs no longer ache with loneliness. Instead, they glow with acceptance. You can hear it in the way her notes linger, not clinging, but floating free. She sings to Ooo itself, to the world that has changed alongside her. And in her voice, there's the tenderness of centuries. She's seen so much, lost so much, but through it all, she remains the heartbeat of memory, keeping the past alive through melody. Bubblegum, standing on her balcony one evening, watches the sunset melt into the horizon. She feels something she hasn't allowed herself to feel in ages' stillness. No calculations, no experiments, no control, just quiet. She thinks of her friends scattered across Ooo, each living their small, beautiful lives. For once, she doesn't worry about what comes next. She lets the wind tousle her hair and carries the sweetness of the fading light in her heart. She knows now that her legacy isn't in the candy or the science she built. It's in the people she loved and the world that continues without her constant intervention. Even the cosmic entities, those beings who drift beyond time, seem to observe this season with reverence. Prismo, the Wishmaster, watches from his timeless room, amused and a little wistful. He understands the beauty of impermanence better than anyone. Death himself walks softly through the forests, not as a hunter, but as a gardener, tending to the fading life with care. The universe feels balanced in a way it rarely does, neither chaotic nor still, but perfectly between. In the heart of Ooo, somewhere quiet and forgotten, Finn sits beneath an enormous tree, its branches heavy with the last leaves of the season. He's not thinking of what's been lost or what's to come. He's simply there in that moment, breathing with the world. The leaves fall around him like blessings. The air hums softly, alive with the echoes of every story ever told. He smiles small, serene, content, because he understands that even in fading, life continues. That endings aren't the opposite of beginnings, but their completion. As the light fades and the night deepens, Ooo exhales. The wind softens, the fires dim, the heroes rest. There's no grand finale, no final battle, no last stand, just a gentle return to quiet, a closing of eyes, a whisper of gratitude, a promise that everything will begin again when the time is right. Autumn has taught Ooo and all of us that even as the color drains from the world, beauty remains. It changes form, becomes memory, becomes song, and through that, it never truly disappears. And so, as the last leaf falls and the first snowflake lingers in the air, the world turns once more. The cycle continues, and in that turning lies the heart of Adventure Time, the soft, eternal truth that nothing is ever truly gone. It only changes shape, waiting quietly for the next dream to begin. This is the season when Ooo seems to hold its breath. The fires dim, the rivers still, and the noise of adventure softens into silence. Winter in Ooo is not just a time of cold, it's a moment suspended between stories. It's when the world folds in on itself, when every heartbeat feels like an echo. In this frozen hush, even the strangest corners of Ooo seem subdued. The Candy Kingdom's cheerful bustle becomes muted. Its colors, normally so bright and playful, soften under blankets of snow. The Fire Kingdom, glowing faintly against the pale landscape, burns slower, its flames like sighs instead of roars. And far to the north, the Ice Kingdom sits timeless, a cathedral of frost, where silence reigns like a king. It's here, in this endless winter, that Simon Petrikov still lingers in memory. The Ice King, once a being of chaos and confusion, now feels like a distant echo, a dream half-remembered. His story, more than any other, belongs to winter. It's about preservation, loneliness, and the strange beauty of stillness. Long ago, he wandered through endless cold, searching for something warm to hold on to, and though the crown twisted his mind, it also granted him an eternity to wander through the frost, trapped in a season that never changed. In a way, Simon's story mirrors Ooo itself. Both are remnants of a world long gone, preserved under layers of ice and time. The land of Ooo was born from the ruins of a fallen earth and apocalypse, frozen over and given new life. Beneath every frozen lake, beneath every mountain of snow, lies the memory of the old world, sleeping soundly, waiting. Winter is the keeper of those memories. It doesn't destroy them. It holds them gently, the way snow holds fallen leaves, covering them, but never truly erasing them. Finn sometimes walks through this frozen season, his boots crunching softly in the snow. The land feels different now. Every sound is sharper, every breath visible. He's older, wiser, and perhaps a little quieter, too. Winter invites that kind of silence, the kind that doesn't feel empty but full, like the hush before a song begins. He doesn't fight monsters as often anymore. Instead, he observes. He listens to the whispers of the snow as it drifts down, each flake carrying a story from somewhere unseen. The creatures of Ooo have their own ways of surviving the cold. Tree trunks and Meister Pig curl up by the fire, their little home glowing warmly against the chill. Peppermint Butler performs quiet rituals, ensuring the magical balance of things remains steady through the slumbering months. Even BMO hums softly to itself, singing lullabies in the dim light of the treehouse. The entire world seems to have entered a collective dream, where everything slows, but nothing truly stops. If summer was the age of adventure, and autumn the reflection that followed, then winter is the dream that binds them both. It's the great pause between endings and beginnings. In Ooo, this is not a season of despair. It's a time of rest, a necessary stillness. The land withdraws not because it's dying, but because it's remembering. The frost preserves. The cold protects. Even the darkest nights feel alive with something ancient and kind, as though the universe itself has tucked Ooo under a blanket and whispered, "Sleep now, little one, until it's time to wake again." In this season, the boundaries between life and dream grow thinner. Sometimes Finn wakes in the night and can't quite tell if he's still dreaming. The snow outside glows faintly blue, and the stars seem closer than they should be. almost brushing against the treetops. In that liminal quiet, he feels connected to everything, to the world that was, the world that is, and the one that's yet to come. It's a feeling that's hard to describe, like being inside the heart of a lullaby. Winter carries that strange duality. It feels like an ending, yet it also hums with quiet potential. Somewhere deep beneath the frozen earth, seeds wait. Somewhere in the heart of the Ice Kingdom, Simon's memories flicker like embers still warm. And somewhere in the sky, the cosmic forces that watch over Ooo Prismo, death, the time room itself seem to pause as well, watching the world sleep, ensuring the dream continues undisturbed. Ooo in winter is not lifeless. It's dreaming. And in that dream, all its stories, the laughter, the pain, the triumphs and the losses, swirl together like flakes in a snowstorm, merging into one endless serene vision, the kind of dream that feels eternal, yet soft enough to dissolve at dawn. As the long nights stretch onward, Ooo becomes something like a living memory. The air feels different, not just cold, but dense, almost humming with the quiet rhythm of time itself. In the hush between falling snowflakes, you can almost hear the world thinking. It's as though the entire land has drifted into a lucid dream, a place between waking and sleeping, where every frozen tree and glimmering icicle carries a faint echo of what once was. Finn walks through these still landscapes sometimes, not searching for anything in particular, just following the rhythm of his breath, the crunch beneath his boots. There's a strange peace in knowing that the world doesn't always need saving. He no longer feels that urgency that once defined him. Now he simply exists within Ooo rather than against it. The snow softens the edges of everything, and for the first time in a long time, he feels small in a comforting way, like part of something vast and eternal. The creatures he meets on these wanderings are quieter, too. The snow golems, gentle and ancient, move slowly through their icy valleys, carrying bundles of warmth for the small creatures who can't bear the cold. Ice wolves leave trails of light in their wake, their eyes glowing like lanterns guiding lost souls home. Even the Ice Kingdom itself feels less like a place of isolation and more like a temple of reflection. Without the chaos of Ice King's loneliness, it's become a realm of fragile peace, frozen towers that hum softly in the wind, echoing a silence that feels sacred rather than empty. Some say that winter is when Ooo dreams of its past, that every snowstorm is a memory the land is replaying to itself, the frozen ruins of old cities beneath the ice, the shadows of ancient machines long since stilled, and yet none of it feels sorrowful. The past is not a wound here. It's a story being retold softly, with care. Ooo in winter is remembering, not grieving. Sometimes, in the deep of night, Finn will sit beside his campfire and stare at the flames dancing against the snow. The fire crackles softly, each spark a tiny rebellion against the cold. He thinks of Jake then, of his laughter, his warmth, his easy wisdom. Even if Jake isn't there beside him anymore, Finn can feel him in the rhythm of the crackling wood, in the way the wind swirls playfully through the trees. The bonds forged in the summers of youth don't fade. They change, just like the seasons. Jake's spirit, light-hearted and infinite, feels like it's drifted into the fabric of the world itself, watching over everything with that same sleepy smile. Elsewhere, Marceline's cave glows dimly with candlelight. She doesn't sleep much. She never has, but in winter, her songs grow slower, softer. She strums her bass as snow falls outside, her voice echoing off the cold stone. The melodies she plays aren't mournful. They're gentle recollections, filled with warmth that defies the frost. Her music carries across the snowfields, reaching ears that need it most. It's said that sometimes travelers lost in blizzards hear her songs and find their way home again. Even Princess Bubblegum has found a kind of quiet. Her laboratory, once filled with the constant hum of machines, now rests in calm. She spends her evenings reading, a cup of cocoa steaming beside her pink hair faintly illuminated by the glow of candlelight. The Candy Kingdom sleeps soundly under her watch, and for once, she allows herself to rest too. The world no longer needs her vigilance every second. It's safe for now, frozen, preserved, dreaming. Far beyond all this, beyond the kingdoms and mountains and icy plains, lies something even deeper. The cosmic side of winter. The unseen layer of existence where time itself slows. Here spirits drift like snowflakes, slow, glowing fragments of forgotten dreams. Prismo's time room shimmers faintly in this expanse, its walls flickering between moments. He watches Oo's winter unfold like a movie slowed to a whisper. Even time needs to rest sometimes, he murmurs to no one, smiling. Winter in Ooo feels infinite, but it's not eternal. The cycle is still turning only now. It moves quietly, like a heartbeat beneath layers of snow. The warmth of spring sleeps just beneath the surface, waiting for its cue. But until then, the world will stay wrapped in this dream, this long hush where every flake, every breath, every heartbeat is part of something sacred. It's in this stillness that the greatest truths of Adventure Time seem to shimmer most clearly, that change is natural, that endings are gentle, and that every story, no matter how quiet, keeps unfolding in its own time. Deep into the heart of winter, when the sky is pale and endless, Ooo feels like it's floating between worlds. The stars seem closer, as if they've leaned down to listen to the dreams of the land below. The snow glows faintly in their light, making everything shimmer not in brilliance, but in a soft, sleepy luminescence. Time feels different here. Hours pass like minutes, or maybe minutes stretch into hours, it's hard to tell. In this quiet season, the very idea of time seems to dissolve into something slower, something ancient and kind. It's during these weeks that Finn starts to dream more vividly. His dreams are gentle, not frightening, filled with familiar faces and faraway memories. He dreams of the treehouse as it once was, full of laughter and the smell of breakfast. He dreams of running through the grass with Jake, of sunlight filtering through the leaves, of the world before it changed. But he also dreams of the world as it is now, quieter, older, wiser. Sometimes he sees himself from afar, sitting alone by a campfire, his reflection shimmering in the snow. In these dreams, there's no sadness, only peace. The kind that comes when you finally understand that every ending is just a doorway to another beginning. In many ways, winter is Oo's great equalizer. The mighty and the humble all share the same hush. The heroes who once roamed the land rest now, not because they've fallen, but because their time of striving has passed. Even magic itself seems to slow its pulse. The spirits of the land, the tiny glowing ones that flutter through the forests and rivers, move slower, their trails of light weaving languidly through the trees. They seem content, as though they too are dreaming. Beneath the surface, under the frozen ground, the old roots of the world are busy in silence. They're gathering strength, storing stories, preparing for the next cycle. It's easy to forget that beneath every sheet of ice lies the pulse of life, steady and waiting. The great mushroom war, the chaos, the heartbreak, all of it eventually returns to this, a season of stillness where the earth heals itself. Winter in Ooo is like a great cosmic breath drawn in, held for just a little while before the exhale of rebirth. Sometimes, in the deepest hours of the night, a strange kind of light fills the horizon. Not dawn, not moonlight, something else. The people of Ooo call it the dreaming light. It's said to be the glow of old magic stirring in its sleep, a reminder that even when everything seems still, the universe is quietly at work. It's a rare sight, and those who witness it describe it as beautiful beyond words, a soft wave of color that rolls across the sky like the aurora, whispering through the air in tones too gentle to be heard. Marceline has seen it many times. She stands outside her cave, her scarf fluttering in the wind, her eyes reflecting the shifting colors. For her, the dreaming light feels familiar, like the glow of all the lives she's lived, merging together in the sky. She closes her eyes and listens, not with her ears, but with her heart. And in that quiet, she feels every song she's ever sung, every soul she's ever met, every friend she's ever loved. Winter for her is not loneliness anymore. It's remembrance, and in remembrance, she finds warmth. Elsewhere, Peppermint Butler conducts a strange, quiet ritual in the snow. Not dark magic, but something older, a gesture of gratitude to the forces that keep the balance. He traces patterns in the frost, murmuring words that no longer belong to any known language. As he works, small motes of light appear around him, flickering like fireflies. He smiles, knowing that even in the coldest season, the threads of the world remain connected. And in the farthest reaches of the Ice Kingdom, the spirit of Simon Petrikov drifts between dream and memory, not as the Ice King, not as a tragic figure, but as something gentler, a whisper of kindness frozen to the world itself. Some say that when the wind howls across the snow, you can hear his laughter, not the mad cackle of the crown's control, but a softer, human sound. A reminder that love and loneliness once lived here side by side. Winter, in the end, belongs to those moments, the ones where everything slows enough for truth to reveal itself. In the hush of snowfall, in the steady rhythm of a sleeping world, the deeper magic of Ooo hums quietly. It doesn't seek to dazzle or frighten. It seeks to comfort, to remind every living thing that even in the coldest silence they are not alone. As Finn looks out over the frozen landscape one morning, the first light of day touching the horizon, he smiles faintly. The air bites at his skin, but it feels good, clean, alive. Somewhere deep inside, he senses the turning. Winter's long dream is nearing its end, and though he doesn't yet see it, the promise of spring already stirs beneath the snow. The final stretch of winter feels softer than the rest. The snow still falls, but it's lighter now, less like a blanket, more like a whisper. The days grow longer by small degrees, and with them comes a quiet shift in Oo's heartbeat. It's subtle, almost imperceptible at first. The kind of change you only feel if you're very still. But for those who are listening, for Finn, for Marceline, for the creatures that stir beneath the earth, the change is unmistakable. The world is beginning to wake. Finn notices it one morning when he steps outside his shelter. The air is still cold, but the light feels different. There's warmth in it, faint, fragile, but real. He closes his eyes and breathes it in, and for the first time in what feels like ages, he smells the promise of soil beneath the snow. The sky, once heavy and gray, now holds streaks of pink and gold, like paint slowly bleeding into canvas. Ooo is not rushing to awaken. It's stretching, yawning, preparing. The long dream is nearing its gentle end. He walks through the forest, snow crunching beneath his boots, and notices small signs of life returning. The branches above him are still bare, but tiny buds hide beneath the frost, waiting for their cue. Somewhere distant, the faint trickle of thawing water echoes through the air, a sound so small it feels like a secret. Every step he takes feels sacred, like walking on the edge between two worlds, one of sleep, one of waking. In the Candy Kingdom, the same transformation stirs. The snow that once muted the bright colors of the land begins to melt, revealing soft glimmers of pink and yellow beneath. Peppermint Butler, sensing the shift, extinguishes his ritual candles and bows his head. "Balance restored," he murmurs. His words dissolve into the morning air like mist. Nearby, the citizens of the kingdom begin to emerge from their cozy homes, blinking in the light, stretching like flowers that have waited too long to bloom. Up north, the Ice Kingdom remains cloaked in frost, but even here the change can be felt. The sharpness of the cold dulls. The wind carries a note of warmth. The ice no longer cracks. With the sound of emptiness it hums. Deep within the icy halls, the memory of Simon Petrikov shimmers faintly, almost like a sigh. The crown that once held him captive now lies dormant, resting in the cold like a relic of another lifetime. The air feels lighter here now, as though the kingdom itself has released a burden it had carried for far too long. And in her cave, Marceline sits at her window, bass in hand, watching as sunlight dances across the snow. She plucks a few soft notes, each one melting gently into the still air. Her song has changed again. It's no longer a lullaby for what was lost, but a hymn to what's coming. She hums softly, smiling to herself, remembering all the winters that came before. "You did it again, world," she whispers. "You made it through." Her words aren't dramatic. They're simple, content, full of gratitude. Winter's dream doesn't end in sudden awakening. It fades like the final note of a song. Slowly, gracefully, the cold begins to loosen its hold, revealing the tender pulse of life beneath. The creatures who've slept through the long frost begin to stir. Small birds return to the branches. Rivers begin to breathe again. The landscape, once white and still, becomes mottled with hints of color, soft greens, muted golds, the first brave flowers peeking through the thaw. And yet, the peace of winter remains. The stillness it brought doesn't vanish with the melting snow. It lingers in the hearts of those who lived through it. Finn carries it with him, the understanding that silence is not emptiness, and rest is not weakness. The heroes of Ooo have learned that every cycle needs its pause, that even in a world of endless adventure, there must be time to simply be. High above, in realms unseen, the cosmic beings who watch over Ooo observe this shift with a quiet reverence. Prismo smiles in his time room, watching the frost recede through his window. Death nods solemnly from his shadowed domain, recognizing the beauty and the renewal of life. Even the universe itself seems to sigh in relief, as though exhaling after holding its breath for too long. The snow melts, the rivers run, the light grows, and Ooo, that resilient, ever-changing land, awakens once more, softer, wiser, renewed. Winter's long dream has done its work. It has preserved the world, allowed it to rest, and now gently hands it back to the warmth of spring. As the first full sunrise breaks across the land, golden light spilling over mountains and valleys, Finn watches from a hilltop. The glow paints the snow in shades of peach and silver. He feels small again, but not in the way he once did. Now it feels right. The world doesn't need him to save it. It only needs him to witness it, to love it, to live in it. He smiles, his breath misting in the morning air. Behind him, the snow glitters one last time before melting into earth. Ahead, the horizon beckons soft, bright, alive. The long dream ends, not with the closing of eyes, but with an opening. Ooo wakes, and with it, every story begins anew. Tonight we drift into something that lies beyond the four seasons, a hidden rhythm, a quiet truth that hums beneath everything we've explored so far. You could call it the fifth season, though it isn't marked on any calendar or map of Ooo. It's not spring, summer, autumn, or winter. It's something deeper, something that lingers in between. A moment when everything, time, memory, and meaning folds in on itself and begins again. This is the eternal loop. You've felt it before, even if you didn't have a name for it. It's the way Ooo always seems to come back to where it began. The way stories end, but somehow never really stop. Heroes fade, but their echoes shape new lives. The world burns, freezes, dreams, and then, one day, it opens its eyes again, reborn, yet familiar. In Adventure Time, endings and beginnings are never truly separate. They blur together like dawn and dusk, forming an infinite horizon that stretches beyond what anyone can see. Imagine it now. Ooo bathed in soft morning light after the long dream of winter. The snow has melted, the rivers hum again, and the sky glows with the faint shimmer of renewal. But beneath this warmth, something subtler is stirring an invisible heartbeat, steady and ancient. It's the same pulse that guided the land through every age before, and it will guide it through countless ages to come. The fifth season is not about change, it's about continuation. It's what happens when everything begins to dream itself forward. For Finn, this season isn't one you can see with your eyes. It's something you feel. It hums through his bones when he walks through Ooo, familiar landscapes that somehow feel brand new. The grass under his boots carries the memory of past summers. The wind that brushes his face feels like the breath of friends long gone. Every path he takes loops back into another, weaving stories within stories, circles within circles. There's no destination there now, only movement. The gentle, eternal motion of life continuing itself. Adventure Time has always carried this quiet truth. From the beginning, Ooo was a world reborn from the ashes of another, a future world built on the remnants of a forgotten earth. Every ruin, every relic, every strange creature was a thread in a vast tapestry of renewal. But if you look closely, you'll see that this rebirth didn't just happen once. It happens again and again in small ways and grand ones. The cycle of destruction and creation repeats, each time more graceful, more harmonious, as if the universe itself is learning to dream better with each rotation. In this fifth season, Finn's adventures take on a different kind of meaning. They're no longer quests for treasure or battles against villains. They're small acts of remembrance, quiet gestures that keep the loop alive. When he helps a stranger, he's echoing the kindness that once saved him. When he plants a seed, he's feeding the same soil that once fed him. The fifth season is not about motion or excitement. It's about resonance, the gentle ripples that spread from one life to another, linking past to present to future in one endless melody. Sometimes when Finn walks near the edge of an old battlefield, he can feel it. The air there still hums with energy, the faint vibration of what once was. But instead of fear or sadness, he feels awe, because he knows now that nothing truly disappears in Ooo. Every action, every emotion, every whispered word becomes part of the cycle. Even the things lost to time are simply waiting to be rediscovered, to be sung again in a new key. Marceline feels it too. Her songs change once more, taking on tones that seem older than the world itself. When she plays, it's as if she's channeling all of Oo's memories through her music, the rise and fall of kingdoms, the laughter of friends, the ache of farewells, the wonder of rebirth. Her voice carries across valleys, blending with the wind, becoming part of that same eternal hum that fills the fifth season. She's lived long enough to see the loops unfold again and again. To her, it's no longer something mysterious. It's simply the way of things. The world dies and dreams itself back to life, and in every dream, love survives. The fifth season is invisible to most, but not to those who listen. It hides in the quiet spaces, in the pause between two heartbeats. in the moment before sleep, in the soft glow that lingers after a story ends. It's the silence that follows every adventure, the hush that says, "You've done well. Rest now. The tale will continue when it's ready." And Ooo, ever gentle, ever patient, continues to turn. In this quiet turning of the world, the 5th season deepens. It's not a time you can mark or measure. It's the still point where everything overlaps. The seasons don't replace one another anymore. Instead, they blend together like layers of a watercolor painting. Spring's rebirth glimmers under summer's light. Autumn's melancholy hides in the corners of winter's snow. It's as if Ooo itself has become aware of its cycles, breathing them in and exhaling something new. You can almost picture Finn waking one morning to find that time feels strange. The sky looks like a summer sky, but the air carries winter's crispness. Flowers bloom beside frost-bitten stones. In the distance, he might hear birdsong mixed with the creak of frozen branches. It's not chaos, it's harmony. A perfect balance between all the moods of Ooo. Every breath of wind feels like a memory, every ray of light a glimpse of what's to come. Jake, if he was still there beside him, would probably laugh at the weirdness of it all. "Buddy," he'd say, "maybe the universe is just vibing." And he'd be right in his own cosmic way. The 5th season is the universe vibing the rhythm between rhythms, the pause that lets everything breathe before the next note begins. But beneath that gentle surface, there's something profoundly spiritual happening. The 5th season is when Ooo itself begins to remember, not as a place, but as a being, a consciousness that has quietly absorbed everything its inhabitants have ever felt. Every heartbreak, every act of courage, every quiet evening under the stars, it all lingers within the land. And when the world dreams, it dreams through those memories. That's why the 5th season feels both ancient and new. The land is speaking softly to itself, whispering through the trees, rippling across the lakes, humming through the roots of grass. The memories of heroes and wanderers are folded into the soil. The laughter of candy people still glimmers faintly in the air. Even the ruins of old cities, long buried and forgotten, pulse with the same subtle rhythm. Nothing is ever truly gone, it just changes shape, rejoining the cycle as something else. It's here that Adventure Time storytelling feels most profound. Every episode, every strange dream sequence, every quiet pause by a campfire has always been leading to this realization. The time isn't a straight path, but a circle that spins with infinite grace. The show never told its story linearly because life in Ooo doesn't move in straight line. It curves, loops, drifts, and returns. Think about Finn's own growth. The child who once raced into danger becomes a young man who pauses to listen. Then perhaps an older soul who wanders without the need for battles or quests. But somewhere within that stillness, his childlike wonder flickers again because the 5th season reminds him that no stage of life ever truly ends. The energy of every version of himself continues to exist, somewhere in the great dream. Even BMO seems to understand it in their own whimsical way. For BMO, the 5th season is playtime that never stops. Every story they tell, every game they invent, is a small echo of eternity. They'll set up a tea party for invisible friends, or pretend to be a hero saving the world, and somehow it feels as real as anything else. Because, in the 5th season, imagination is reality. Thought and world merge. The dreamer and the dream are the same. Sometimes the 5th season doesn't look magical at all. It appears in small, ordinary moments, like someone lighting a candle in a dark room, or a breeze carrying the scent of rain through an open window. These moments feel timeless because they are. They exist outside of the flow of hours and days, belonging instead to the rhythm that connects all things. Ooo Ooo itself might not even notice when it crosses into this state. There's no dramatic shift, no grand event. It simply is. A sunrise that feels familiar and new all at once. The laughter of a friend who has been gone for ages, somehow echoing in a dream. A song that feels like it's been playing since the beginning of everything. The fifth season holds these mysteries gently, wrapping them in quiet warmth. And as the world rests in this calm, you can feel it, the loop preparing to begin again. Some say the fifth season is what happens when the universe finally takes a breath. After all the chaos, the laughter, the heartbreak, and the beauty, there comes a pause. A moment where everything stops reaching outward and begins turning inward. It's not death. It's not rebirth. It's the stillness in between the moment of quiet, before a seed decides to sprout again. In this stillness, the magic of Ooo changes. The spells and powers that once relied on raw emotion now hum with gentler frequencies. The Enchiridion, that ancient book of heroism, doesn't just glow with light anymore. It hums like a lullaby, the words rearranging themselves when no one is looking, as if the universe is writing its own bedtime story. Magic, once a force of power, becomes a language of peace. Even the elements, fire, ice, candy, slime, begin to soften at their edges, no longer fighting for dominance. They begin to sing together, creating something new. And perhaps this is what the fifth season truly represents. The blending of opposites. Fire and ice finding balance. Life and decay holding hands. Even heroes and villains losing their boundaries, merging into something beyond good or evil, something simply whole. In this strange serenity, we can imagine the remnants of every being in Ooo glowing faintly like lanterns in a vast, dark field. The Ice King's gentle madness, Marceline's centuries of music and memory, Princess Bubblegum's endless curiosity, and Finn's unshakable heart. All of it twinkles softly, like constellations forming in the night sky. They're no longer separate stories, but parts of one great tapestry. Each light connects to another, forming a shape that maybe no one can fully understand except the universe itself. And within that glowing map of memories, there's movement, cycles turning quietly, the world reshaping itself, not through destruction, but through dreaming. In the fifth season, dreams aren't illusions. They are the seeds from which new worlds bloom. Every time a hero falls asleep under a tree, every time a child in Ooo wishes upon a shooting star, the dream they have might just become the next era, the next life, the next Ooo. That's the beauty of it, the understanding that the end of a story doesn't mean it's over. Adventure Time always hinted at this truth. Episodes ended, but their echoes continued. Even when a tale seemed to fade into silence, it left behind vibrations that wove into new beginnings. The fifth season is the space where those vibrations meet. It's where endings hum quietly, turning themselves into beginnings again. You can almost hear it if you listen closely, a faint melody drifting through the winds of Ooo. Maybe it's Simon's lullaby, softly echoing from the frozen north. Maybe it's Marceline's voice, her song now so ancient and vast that it resonates through the clouds. Or maybe it's something even older, the song of the universe itself, the one that all things hum along to without even knowing. Finn might hear it on one of his long walks. He might stop at the top of a grassy hill, close his eyes, and just breathe. Around him, the land shimmers with soft color golds and greens, blues and silvers, all blending like morning light through mist. And for the first time, he doesn't wonder about the future or the past. He simply is. The fifth season has no need for questions or quests. It's about being existing in the rhythm of everything. There's a peace in that, a deep cosmic calm that feels like the final heartbeat of a story before it becomes silence again. But in that silence, something remarkable happens. The silence listens back. It begins to dream. And from that dream, the next spring stirs quietly, like the first flutter of a leaf in wind. The fifth season, then, isn't truly the end of the cycle. It's the dream that fuels the next awakening. It's Ooo remembering itself and choosing to begin again, softer, wiser, and full of wonder. Every creature, every place, every soul gets another chance to be part of the dance. The adventure doesn't end, it transforms. And maybe that's what Adventure Time was always whispering to us, that stories, like lives, never truly stop. They just turn over like seasons, each one glowing for a while before resting in the gentle embrace of the next. In the fifth season, everything sleeps and everything awakens, together forever. In the quiet radiance of the fifth season, time no longer feels like something to be counted or measured. It moves like a breath, expanding, pausing, returning. The heroes of Ooo no longer chase quests or destinies. They become part of the land, woven into its still heartbeat. Finn's laughter might echo faintly across a valley where no one walks anymore. The scent of Jake's favorite sandwiches might linger on a summer breeze that drifts across endless meadows. These are not ghosts, nor memories. They're threads of life still shimmering within the dream of the world. Marceline might sit by a lake that doesn't exist in any map, strumming her bass to an audience of stars. The notes fall into the water like gentle rain, rippling across reflections of old friends and forgotten places. The sound isn't sad, it's tender. Her song isn't a farewell, but a lullaby for everything that was and everything that will be again. For even she knows that this calm isn't a finale. It's the inhale before the next song begins. Somewhere, BMO hums quietly to themselves, watching the sun rise and set all at once in a sky that no longer obeys rules. They might record it in their memory, labeling it something like Day 1,000,000, or the day everything felt perfect. And maybe in their little metallic heart, they understand more than anyone that time isn't a line. It's a playground. Every moment can be revisited, replayed, loved again. Even Simon, perhaps resting at last from his long, weary journey through madness and sorrow, finds peace here. The ice around his heart has melted, and he sees clearly now, every choice, every mistake, every act of kindness still echoing outward. He realizes that all his years of searching for meaning were never about finding something new, but about remembering what was always there. The fifth season shows him that love, even when forgotten, never truly fades. It becomes the frost that protects new growth, the quiet that holds the world together. And high above it all, the cosmos watches with gentle patience. The stars no longer mark hours or eras. They twinkle softly like eyes closing in contentment. The great beings, those cosmic entities who once shaped fate, rest now in contemplation. Perhaps even they dream. Perhaps the fifth season belongs as much to them as it does to the smallest blade of grass in Ooo, because in this harmony all are equal. The infinite and the tiny, the ancient and the newborn, the real and the imagined, they breathe together in a single rhythm. When you look at it that way, maybe the fifth season isn't just a part of Ooo. Maybe it's a truth that exists everywhere. The quiet place inside every story, inside every person. A space where endings and beginnings are just different shades of the same gentle light. Where loss becomes memory, memory becomes song, and song becomes the heartbeat of the world. Adventure Time, from the very start, has always guided us here. Through laughter and absurdity, through sorrow and wonder, it's whispered this truth again and again, that growing up, falling apart, and finding peace are all the same journey, just seen through different seasons. And when the journey feels like it's over, The fifth season invites us to rest, to let go, to dream, to trust that the story will begin again in its own beautiful way. If you listen closely now, you can almost hear it. The gentle rustle of leaves returning to green, the echo of distant laughter, soft and familiar, the hum of stars preparing to rise once more. The world is ready to wake again, and so are we. So as we drift together at the edge of this endless cycle, this dream where time folds in on itself like the pages of a well-loved book, remember that Ooo will always be turning. Somewhere, Finn is still smiling at the horizon. Somewhere, Jake is still floating on his back beneath the sky. And somewhere beyond both of them, the next story is already waiting to be told. The fifth season is not the end. It's the forever heartbeat between stories. The quiet sigh before dawn. The whisper that everything continues and everything returns. Good night.